Welcome to Conspiracy Corner Podcast, everyone. This is Abe, your host, with Lammy Chillmeister, my co-host. It is August 25th, 2024. Little bummed out. I have to work tonight. Fucking blows, too, because it's a Sunday night, meaning it's going to be a super small truck. It's going to get done like that. Going to have the whole night of just, it's going to drag by horribly. And normally I'm off on Sundays. I would rather be, honestly, watching a conspiracy movie and doing a conspiracy podcast review on it. That's what I would rather be doing. And I wanted to put out a Leave the World Behind episode yesterday because I was expecting to be off and so I can stay up late and podcast, but not gonna happen. But that's pretty much what's going on with my personal life. I almost died on the way here. That was fun. A tow truck literally did a U-turn in the middle of the road, parked, and I was driving by. I had this feeling, man. He was parking like I'm driving this way, he was facing this way. So like it wasn't even really a U-turn. He actually just came through the median, drove against traffic, and then parked on the side of the road. So I'm heading this way. I'm in the right lane, closest to him. And I just had this feeling, man. You ever get like a little guardian angel just tap on your shoulder? And I just had this feeling, and my instinct kicked in, and I started looking in the rearview mirror to see who was on my left side and how far back they were. Because I'm like, I don't trust this tow truck, man. So then he starts backing out like this, takes up my entire lane. Within split seconds, I had to literally, after checking the rearview mirror, like, fucking go to the left, wailed on the horn, pulled back into my lane. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? I wish I would have known the tow company, and I'm not like the Karen type to sit there and complain on people, but it's like, yeah, I would call in on that one. You almost fucking murdered me, bro. But let's get on with the show. Yeah, I've been hamming it up in live chats for Deep Waters, Sam Tripoli, and NPC show today. For one, it helps spread my channel name, and two, I just like to do research before work and stuff, and they put out conspiracy shit and political shit, so it's where I get a lot of my info is from other people, you know. But today Sam Tripoli was talking about Colonel Sanders, how he's like a 33rd degree Freemason. They pulled up a picture of his, so right now, honestly, the first half of this episode is probably going to be me talking conspiracy, but just different conversations I had today with other conspiracy theorists. So, fun conspiracy shit. I do have other topics that I want to get into also. But they pulled up a picture of his gravestone, and it's got like a Shriner emblem, a 33rd within a pyramid emblem. And I don't know, it just reminded me, I live in Kentucky. I live in Lexington. And there's a place called Corbin, Kentucky. And me and my wife, it was a halfway point for my brother because he lives in Tennessee. So we went up there to the halfway point to, I think at the time we were dropping my daughter off. Yeah. And she was going to stay with them for a little bit. So we went to Corbin, this halfway point, and my wife, we love doing shit, man. We love traveling. We love checking out new places. We're always doing something, man. You should see our photo albums. Like, we have thousands of photos because we're always doing something. And she, you know, we'd never been to Corbin, so she's like looking it up like, oh, let's go check out Corbin. So we went to, in Corbin, they have the first KFC ever. And it's got a museum. It's almost like a sit-down restaurant, too. Which Colonel Sanders, his wife, actually did have a finer dining sit-down restaurant. I forget the name of it, but if you're ever in Corbin, go check it out. That town, though, real fucking sketchy. It's kind of on the ghetto side. And, dude, the locals around there, like, most of Kentucky, the locals are real fucking friendly. I do have to say that about Kentucky. Like, Louisville, they're not friendly. Lexington, they're not friendly. But most smaller towns in Kentucky, like, everybody's like, they'll sit there and stop you and talk to you for 15 minutes. You know, like, hey, how you doing, buddy? Everyone's cool as fuck in Kentucky. But Corbin, everyone looks real sketchy. As if, like, you know, like teardrop tattoos and shit. Everyone looks like jailbirds, like ex-cons and shit. Yeah, and when you talk to people, they're quick and to the point. It's almost like where I was born and raised in Florida. It's almost how people act in Florida. Of just quick, to the point, what do you want? You know, they could definitely tell we were tourists, you know. So, but we did check it out. Go check it out if you ever get the chance. Just be real careful. Corbin's, it's a little sketchy. So, I don't know. My ears perked up as soon as I heard the whole, Colonel Sanders, you know, conspiracy shit. Because I, got to check out the first KFC, and I live in Kentucky, you know. But it reminded me, there's this crazy-ass story. Colonel Sanders was having trouble with one of his neighboring businesses. I think Colonel Sanders at the time, like, owned a gas station in Corbin, and this other guy kept putting up a sign. It had something to do with the sign. Either Colonel Sanders was putting up a sign and it was pissing off the other guy, or the other guy was putting up a sign and it was pissing off Colonel Sanders. So, this crazy-ass Freemason motherfucker had a shootout with the guy, and I could be wrong, I'll have to Google it, but I'm pretty sure he killed the dude in a shootout. Like, I do have to say that, like, I don't know what type of weird shit Colonel Sanders was in. I got Freemason families. I almost joined the Freemasons. I've been invited to join multiple times. I would like to join just to see what it's all about. I know people will be like, oh, see Abe's Illuminati. Like, no, I just honestly want to join to learn the secrets and see what it's about, you know? If I felt weird that there was something real sketchy going on, I would obviously get out of it, you know? That being said, though, yeah, he had a shootout with this dude, and I'm pretty sure he killed the guy and got off. He got away with it, you know. Now, is that like Freemason connections in a small town? Probably, because most judges are Freemasons, most cops are Freemasons. There's a big club and we're not in it, in the words of George Carlin. So, it kind of reminded me, though, because Sam was talking about who's the most Illuminati out of all the, God, I got a hair in my mouth, out of all the fast food chains. And it reminded me, I used to work for McDonald's. Honestly, to answer that question, I think McDonald's would probably be the most Illuminati out of all the fast food chains. As far as like dark arts, you know. But it reminded me of this not a documentary, a movie that came out. I used to work at McDonald's for 3 years. I went to bartending school, got out of bartending school, became a bartender after a year. So, there was this movie, I think it was called The Founder. It has Michael Keaton, the guy who played Batman. And he plays Ray Kroc, which is... Okay, McDonald's was started by two brothers, the McDonald brothers. And you can actually go and check out the first McDonald's ever. It's like all tore up and boarded up, and it's kind of sad. And what Ray Kroc did to the McDonald brothers is like depressing and horrible. Which Ray Kroc was basically like kind of like a Wolf of Wall Street, real cutthroat businessman. Piece of shit, dude. Ray Kroc was a piece of shit. That's why this movie was so good too, because it shows how cutthroat Ray Kroc was as a businessman. It does not pull punches. It's a good fucking movie. Go check it out. Maybe we'll watch it and review it on this channel. But he bought the business from the McDonald brothers. It blew up. He made it into the McDonald's what it is today. And the original McDonald brothers, like literally their little restaurant failed and went under. I think they actually built a McDonald's across the street from the original McDonald's brothers McDonald's, and everyone was going to the fake McDonald's, the Ray Kroc McDonald's, and literally put the original first McDonald's under. But watching this movie, I was like, dude, this movie's non-conspiratorial either. It doesn't show like the conspiracy side of it, but I had this feeling the whole fucking time watching this. I kept telling my wife, I was like, I bet you this motherfucker is either like 33rd degree Freemason, he's Skull and Bones, he's got to be doing some dark arts shit to move up in the world that quickly. He's that cutthroat. You know that the elites were like, oh, this motherfucker's cutthroat, we want him, you know. And sure enough, after the movie was over, I typed in like Ray Kroc. I don't know, I had, once again, we were talking about angels tapping us on the shoulder. I got a download from God, and it was God telling me, not verbally, I wasn't hearing voices, but God told me he went to Bohemian Grove. And I went, oh, okay. So after the movie was over, I Googled Ray Kroc, Bohemian Grove. Sure enough, Ray Kroc used to go to Bohemian Grove. I'm like, I'll be fucking damned. That's why I believe there's a God, man. And I talk to God every day. I pray every day. God speaks to me. He gives me downloads, which he can do the same for you. I'm not saying I'm like some indigo child, some chosen one. Like, he can do the same to you, you know. You just got to reach out to him and he'll reach out to you, you know. Kind of like Adam and God putting their fingers together, you know. It's a two-way street. But yes, Ray Kroc was a member of the Bohemian Grove, and oh, that went down a little wrong. Sorry, I got tonsil stones. And Colonel Sanders was a 33rd degree Freemason Shriner. So, dark arts, baby. Next subject. I have a feeling I'm not going to get to most of the subjects that I wanted to talk about, which is fine. I'm having fun with this. I hope you all are having fun. So, in the Deep Waters chat, someone was in there, and they kept posting this over and over in the chat, like, Jesus was a Freemason. Jesus died at 33. Jesus was a 33rd degree Freemason. And I didn't say it in the chat because I didn't want to start beef or nothing. I mentioned earlier before, I was raised by a conspiracy theorist. My father was a conspiracy theorist. You know, he used to buy the UFO VHSs. He was into the paranormal. He would talk about ghosts and stuff. He was really big on Sixth Sense, and he used to talk to me about the Kennedy assassination. His opinions were it was the mafia. He used to I grew up with a conspiracy theorist father. That being said, I have family who are Freemasons. I have a brother who's a Freemason. I have an uncle who is Prince Albert Freemasonry, which is the black version of Freemasonry. He's 33rd degree. I have my father was a Freemason. My grandpa was a Freemason. Like I said, I'm not a Freemason, but growing up a conspiracy theorist and a large amount of my family being Freemasons, obviously I was drawn to Freemasonry as far as like learning about it and shit. So, let me debunk this right now. Jesus was not a Freemason. From my studies, being an outsider looking in, but poking at my family member who is a Freemason and trying to get as much info as I can out of him, he at least has let me know that I'm on the right track. There's only so much he can say because they take a vow that they'll get their tongue cut out and their guts spilled and burnt alive or something crazy like that. Some crazy vow, I can't remember the exact one. But he can only tell me so much, and I get it. That, and he's told me, like, it's not that I don't want to tell you, but I don't want to ruin it for you in case you ever join, because when you go up the degrees, you're learning and growing spiritually. Which I get it, you know. Like, one of the mystery schools that I am a part of would be the Grail Quest. And my wife one time, like, we were arguing, and she was like, "You're so mysterious about this Grail shit, this Holy Grail shit. Why don't you just fucking tell me what it is?" And I'm like, if I tell you what it is, it ruins it. Because the Holy Grail is different for everyone. It could be a woman. It could be a physical, actual Grail. It could be both. It could be a bloodline. You're growing as you're on the... when you go on the Grail quest, you are questing for the Holy Grail. Either physically, actually traveling and shit, or spiritually, obviously, and knowledge-wise, like reading, learning, getting into conspiracies, studying, making notes. You're growing. So if I told you what the Grail was, it ruins it for you. And I tried to drill this through her head. She just wasn't getting it. I'm like, it's a mystery school. You are learning the whole time. The whole point is to learn. You know, it's the journey. I know it sounds tacky and it sounds cliche, but it's the journey that matters, not the actual finish line. It's the journey, the lessons. Jesus was not a Freemason. Freemasonry was not even invented yet. And the actual origins of Freemasonry are not set in stone. There's people who say matter-of-factly, the Freemasons came from the Knights Templar. No, they think it came from the Knights Templar. The best way that I could sum it up and describe it to you is Freemasonry is a mixture of multiple mystery schools from ancient times. So, like the third Master Mason degree, which I will tell you, I did do a whole podcast episode on it. Go look it up. It's Master Mason degree is the name of the episode. And we go through the entire degree. I read as much fragments as I could get because the author of the book was a Freemason and he could only tell us so much. He couldn't tell us everything, but he gives you a good chunk of what the Master Mason degree is, and he explains what it is. When you go through the third degree of Master Masonry, you are becoming a pharaoh. It is a pharaoh-making process. It is taken from the original pharaoh-making process of ancient Egypt, which a lot of that knowledge was lost during the burning of the Library of Alexandria. So, Masonry is trying to piece together their own mystery school of, like, trying to piece together what was lost of the burning of the Library of Alexandria. which I think there was 2 fires and a raid. Like, there was 3 traumatic events that happened to the Library of Alexandria. If I was a time traveler, that would be my main mission, is to stop the looting and burning of the Library of Alexandria, because there's so much lost knowledge that is lost forever. So, mystery school. Masonry is basically Egyptian mystery school. Now, Knights Templar does involve the Knights Templar. There are conspiracies. There are thoughts on the origin being Knights Templar, that Knights Templar turned into Freemasonry. Knights Templar also invented modern banking. But there's a lot of splits and stuff too. Like, Knights Templar split off to become like Knights of Malta, Knights of Columbus. Hang on. Knights of Malta, Knights of Columbus, Knights of, there's another Knights Templar, Knights, I can't remember. And Freemasonry splits off too. Like, there's Order of the Jesters, there's Shriners, there's Rotary Club, which came out of Freemasonry. Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of mystery schools, secret societies, groups. But Jesus was not a Freemason. It hadn't even come out yet. Now, when it gets into, well, he died at 33. Okay. This gets into what I've talked about before, astrotheology. Jesus, I'm going to put it to you point blank, and I don't care if it offends you, whatever. From an occultic perspective, Jesus is a solar entity. He is soul, sun. Soul, Solomon, sun and moon. He is the sun. It's sun worship. But he is also, in my opinion, in my studies too, he is also a wine god too. That's why you see all of these stories of him with wine, turning water to wine. Drink my wine, my blood. You know, he is Bacchus Dionysus also, from a pagan occultist perspective. Sorry to burst your bubble. He is the sun. 12 disciples, wow, are planets, solar system. Do I think that there was an actual Jesus? Yes. As far as my study has taken me on my journey spiritually, he was a actual real person named Yeshua ben Joseph. There's an excellent book, by the way, that a lot of this shit that I've been covering throughout this podcast is in this book. It's called The Hiram Key. It's about Hiram Abiff, the Master Mason degree. And this guy actually lays out that Hiram Abiff might have actually been an actual archaeological, historical person, an Egyptian pyramid builder. Look into that. It's fucking nuts. Hiram Abiff, though, he ties in with King Solomon. He was around King Solomon. King Solomon has mentioned him multiple times, which ties in with grimoires, which ties in with Solomonic magic, ties into Kebra Nagast, which is Rastafari. This shit goes deep, homeboy. I used to be a Rasta. Now I'm just a ceremonial magician. But yes, Yeshua ben Joseph, I believe, is the actual physical, historical Jesus. And there's a lot of characters. I believe there's a historical Hercules, which would have been Heracles. I believe he was Hercules and Samson are actually the same person. I believe that these historical figures become ascended masters if you're going into the school of, what was her name an occultist back in the day. She brought up the concept of ascended masters. Like, you got like Thoth Trismegistus, who was an actual person, Hermes, Jesus, Yeshua ben Joseph, Owen Dantgwyn, which is another messianic figure / hero worship / sun worship. Owen Dantgwyn would be King Arthur, real dude. Mulan is actually Joan of Arc, same person. Samson is Hercules, same person historically and metaphysically. But he wasn't a Freemason. Now, there is a Mandela effect, though. And actually, this one I kind of agree with. Like, I was always taught that Jesus was a carpenter. Turns out, carpentry at that time was not really... Okay, the carpentry was around, but hang on. Let me recoup. Let me align. Jesus, the actual translation, the most original translation you can find, the oldest translation, it says he's a mason. He was a stonemason. Now, you have Freemasonry and then you have stonemasonry. Freemasonry also became big during stonemasonry times, almost as a union, which I'm a member of a union. I'm not anti-union. I'm in a union, you know, which is kind of like a secret society for workers, you know. So Freemasonry did become a literal union for the stonemasons at one point in time. Go read Cask of Amontillado. That's what it was. That's why I believe Edgar Allan Poe was killed, because he wrote Cask of Amontillado, and he was an anti-Mason at the time. So Jesus was an actual literal Mason. If you actually follow the oldest translations of the Bible, not King James, which, by the way, why do you people, why do Christians worship King James so fucking much? Do you guys know about King James? Like, if you actually look at the history, the historical point perspective on King James, he was batshit insane. He literally used to run around naked. He used to cut the bellies open of cows. He had cows in his courtyard. He would run around naked and slice them, kill them with a sword, and slice them open and sleep inside of them at night. I'm not even joking. And he was an actual, like, from what I heard, a fucking Mason. If Masonry was around at that time, I believe it was. But, King James is not who you fucking think he was, man. Everyone sits here and glorifies King James like he was a batshit crazy king. Not a man of God. Now, you can get into who wrote the Bible, like Sir Francis Bacon. Is Sir Francis Bacon William Shakespeare? Is Shakespeare an alias of a troupe of people? Intellectuals who all went under the alias of Shakespeare? You know, that's a whole nother rabbit hole we could go down one day. But yes, Jesus was a stonemason. Now, because he died at 33rd degree, or 33 years old, that could be, the 33rd degree could be a reference to that. I'll tell you something real quick. This is occult knowledge, so pay attention. Get you a notepad and write it down. There are 33 vertebrae on your spine. The Kundalini, Jesus was described as the good serpent in many passages. Golgotha, he died at 33 years old, 33 vertebrae. Golgotha translates to the skull, the place of the skull. After 33 degrees, you reach the skull, Golgotha. You die and are risen again, which that's solar worship stuff. this is your temples. Your brain is your temple. Your frontal lobe controls the concept of spirituality and your connection with God. We talked about that last episode, I believe. Your pineal gland, your third eye, resides in your brain. Deep shit. There you go. Go chew on that for a while. Jesus was not a Freemason. Sorry to burst your bubble. I know it would be exciting if he was, but Freemasonry was not even around anymore. Was he a part of mystery schools? I believe so. I've went into this before. Go read the Septuagint, and then you'll understand why I do not worship Jesus. Let's see. So we covered Ray Kroc, we covered Colonel Sanders, and we covered Jesus not being a Freemason. I think it was a fun little conspiracy compilation we had today. I hope y'all enjoyed. Lammy, say goodbye. God bless. Y'all have a good day.